All right, thank you so much everyone for coming. If you could go ahead and take your seats, we're gonna go ahead and get started with our presentation. My name is Lauren Wallachy. I'm a Public Information Officer with Caltrans, and thank you for attending this presentation tonight about the Pacific Coast Highway Pavement Rehabilitation Project in Santa Monica. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Katie Masick, who's another Public Information Officer also working on the project. Katie?
Thanks, Lauren. So I'm Katie Masick. We are going to get started today with a presentation about the project, and then afterwards we'll have some time for questions with the project team. So I will turn it over to Janice Liu, who is the project manager for this project, and she will introduce the project team and walk us through the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. My name is Janice Liu. I'm the project manager for this project. Along with me tonight, we have also Refugio, is our design manager. He will present the scope of the work later on the slides. Along with me also, we have a few Caltrans team members here as well to help answer any questions you may have. So I'm gonna just dive into the project presentation. So for project location, this project is mainly on PCH. It covers across 4 cities in the south end, starting from the south end. It starts from the McClaw Tunnel in Santa Monica to the city of Los Angeles, and then to Topanga Community, and lastly to Malibu by Cross Creek Road. Total post miles about 12 miles from 35.2 to 46.9. Purpose of the project, the main purpose of the project is to fix the pavement, which will extend the service life of the roadway. It will improve the ride quality. It will minimize the maintenance needs, which will minimize the maintenance worker exposure as well. In addition, we're also trying to upgrade as much as possible for complete street features where feasible in this project. In the following slides, we'll talk about the specific scope included for this project. And lastly, we'll also upgrade safety features. Now I'm going to pass on to our design engineer to discuss the project scope.
Thank you, Janice. Yes, I would like to restate my name, Refugio Dominguez. I'm the design manager for this project, and I'm going to explain the scope of work in detail. So pavement rehabilitation, what we're going to do from post mile 35.2 to 46.7, we're going to remove 2 inches of the existing pavement, we grind it, and then we put new pavement on top. That's what we call cold plane and overlay with rubberized hot mix asphalt, which is recycled asphalt, rubberized. Next, we have replaced structural section at high density cracking locations. There are locations where the pavement, if the pavement needs to be repaired, not just an overlay, we will replace the whole 2 feet of pavement. And at those locations, we'll do like pavement reconstruction, not just an overlay. Next, we have transit stop improvement, constructing bus path with concrete. All the locations where we have bus paths, the pavement is asphalt. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna change it from asphalt to white concrete. It lasts longer and it's better. Now we'll go to complete street elements. We're gonna upgrade and add new ADA curb ramps. We have a lot of curb ramps out there, but there are locations where they don't meet the standard. So 22 curb ramps will be upgraded, and 22 at 11 intersections. We're gonna add new sidewalks and enhance crosswalk striping. 2 new sidewalks. I'm gonna show later the exhibits, or in the back we can see where the sidewalks are going to be. One at Topanga Canyon, northeast corner, and another sidewalk, it's gonna be at 10356, that's the address, near a bus stop. Next one, we have accessible pedestrian signals, countdown pedestrian signal heads, and bicycle detection. Where we have these improvements of ADA curb ramps, we're gonna put push buttons. We're gonna synchronize it, whoever is using the on-ramp. And we'll have a bicycle detection. If there's a bicycle nearby, it will detect that there's one there. Then at the bottom, class 2 bike lanes. Currently out there we have class 3, which means a bicycle next to the shoulder. Class 2 bike lanes, it's a bike lane by itself. Safety items. Upgrade the guardrail system. The existing guardrails may be damaged or they don't meet the standard. So we're gonna put the new system, which we call NGS. Next, we're going to install quick curves for traffic channelization. There's a lot of intersections where we have quick curves, but there's 15 more locations that do not have quick curves. We're going to add quick curves. Quick curves, just for your info, it looks like a delineator, yellow, with a plastic base. So we're going to put those. Next one, we'll upgrade lighting at 2 tunnels, the Roosevelt Tunnel and the Beach Tunnel. So we're going to put new lighting so it's safer. Next, we're going to replace and install new signs. That means throughout the limits, brand new signs for the whole project, traffic signs. Next, we're going to add CCTV cameras around Roosevelt Tunnel, around the vicinity up there. We're going to add a CCTV camera so we can see what's happening. And the last, at the bottom, we're going to install a signal with protected left turn at the City of Santa Monica parking lot 3 North. That's the address, 1150. Right now, if you want to make a left, you have to wait for the green light. You might make it, you might not make it. So what protected means you're going to have an arrow. For sure, you're going to make a left. So now we can go to the next slide. As we can see, we'll start with the brown. What you see in brown, way at the left, that's the new bike lane from Sierra Road on the north to Carbon Canyon. And that's going northbound, only going northbound. That's one location. Then on the south side, going northbound from Temesco, oh, it's right there, Temesco Canyon to Bay Club Drive. That's another one. And then coming southbound, the other bike lane is from Bay Club to Seaview Drive. Let me point out the length of the bike lanes, the new bike lanes. And let's go back to the north. The bike lane will be 2.5 miles. And then let's come to the south. Going northbound, it's 0.6 miles. And then coming southbound, around Bay Club Drive is going to be half a mile. So 3 new bike lane segments, which is class 2. They'll have their own striping. Now, if you look at what's in red, City of Malibu, way on the north, we have an existing bus stop at 2356, which is the address. At that location, we're going to add a new sidewalk and a crosswalk, and we have exhibits in the back that show that. And then in the middle, we're going to have like I mentioned before, a new sidewalk at the northeast corner of Topanga Canyon and PCH. And then close to Entrada, we're going to have a new crosswalk. So you can cross from the north, from one side of PCH to the other side. Now we can go to the next slide. And this slide is really... Yes, yeah, we're going to do after the presentation, we have a question and answer session. Thank you. The next one, this exhibit is related with a bike lane. From Temesco Canyon to Bay Club Drive, in both directions. Northbound, you can see the bike lane is in green color. And then on the other side, coming southbound, also you have a bike lane, which it seems like in green, and it's next to the drive lane and the shoulder. And one in this case is not shoulder, the sidewalk. So you have one going northbound, one going southbound, and that's between these 2 limits.
But that's existing a 6-lane road, that you only show 4.
It is 4. Well, this is like a typical. Yeah, there's locations where we have another lane. This is like a typical, but
Are you going
good
to
one.
eliminate any lanes?
Take questions at the end.
Yeah.
Or we can ask that.
Yeah, no. Well, how about if we finish the slides and we can have a question and answer for everyone? The next one, the next slide is from Carbon Canyon Road to Sierra Road. I mentioned that the bike lane will be 2.5 miles, and it's going only northbound. It's going only northbound, as you can see on the exhibit. Now we can go to the next slide. I guess this is kind of redundant because I already mentioned the sidewalk, but let's look at it again. The sidewalk and crosswalk at 2356. You can see the crosswalk, and the sidewalk is, because there's an existing bus, but there's no sidewalk. So you walk next to the shoulder and dirt. It's not correct, so we're going to have a sidewalk. So it's better for a pedestrian. Next slide. At the northeast corner of Topanga and PCH, we're going to add a sidewalk because there's nothing there. It's like a parking lot and just AC. We're gonna add a sidewalk to the bus stop. And next, at Entrada, we're gonna add a crosswalk to go from one side to the other or vice versa. Next slide. Oh, for the next slide, Janice. Mhm.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Now I would like to talk about the project schedule. Currently, we are in project approval and environmental document phase. In this phase, we are identifying, finalize the scope, and also completing our environmental document. This phase started back in summer 2022, and we are targeting to finish in just in a few more months. After that, we'll start the design phase. That will start right after, and we are targeting to completing it in winter 2026. Construction is targeting to start summer 2027 to summer 2029. So for this project, we are only really focused on just that one pavement rehab project. However, this slide is to show you that this is not the only project we have on PCH corridor. We divided into 3 actionable phases, from short-term to mid-term to long-term. For the short-term, we have the Director's Order project. This project is mainly addressing immediate safety items. It has been started since January 2024 and should be completing anytime soon in a month or 2. Mid-term, we have 2 PCH pavement rehab projects divided into 2 segments, the north segment and south segment. The north segment is starting from south of Cross Creek Road to Ventura County line, and the south segment is the one that we just discussed earlier, the main project of this public meeting. It's from McClure Tunnel to south of Cross Creek Road. Both of this pavement rehab project, the main scope is the pavement rehab, and we are incorporating complete street and safety items to it. And construction for the first segment, which is the north segment, 2026 to 2028, and again, for this project, is starting 2027 and 2029 for construction. After that, we also currently working on some long-term plan. So we have 2. One is the PCH Master Plan Feasibility Draft Study in Malibu, and another one is the SL1 Climate Resilience and Transportation Safety Plan. That one is covering from Santa Monica all the way to Roxnor. So besides today's public meeting, we're actually going to have another one in-person meeting. For this project, as I stated earlier, it covers 4 cities. That's why we have this one in Santa Monica, and we're going to have another one in city of Malibu. The next in-person meeting in City of Malibu is on Wednesday, April 9th. The press release has been out already. The location is in City Hall in Malibu in the City Council chambers. In that in that public meeting, we will actually cover all 3 projects, as I shown in the earlier slides. The 2 pavement rehab project and also the master plan feasibility draft study in Malibu. And on that day, it will be starting the public comment on that day. And following that, we also going to have 2 virtual meetings. Basically, it's repeating the same presentation for people that cannot make it to the in-person meeting. They can attend the virtual meetings. Again, it's going to be covering all 3 projects.
Thank you all so much for coming to this meeting and listening to our presentation. We're going to open it up to questions shortly, but I want to make sure that you all see that we have an email address for this project. So if your question doesn't get answered tonight, or if you have questions in the future, we want to make sure that you reach out to that.
First of all, thank you for having this meeting. It's important. Secondly, it occurs to me that all this construction, the actual work is going to be going on while the Palisades are in the midst of a complete reconstruction project that will involve huge amounts of traffic and huge amounts of trucks. And I question whether it's the right time to bollocks up the PCH with more construction. Just a point, my question is the crosswalk at Entrada. There are 2 perfectly good tunnels right there. One in front of the gas station and the other one at the corner of it, right near the corner of Entrada, that will take people across with no problem already. They're clean, they're well maintained by local people, everything's fine. When there's so much problem with the intersection of where Chautauqua comes down and Entrada and West Channel meet with PCH was such a mess, I question committing money to another redundant crosswalk when more might be done with the bigger intersection. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The reason we're adding another crosswalk there, we noticed the tunnel doesn't have the ADA visibility going across. That's why we're adding this on the surface.
Go ahead.
I have two questions. The first one is, whenever you've done repaving before in the McLaren Tunnel in the Santa Monica area, there's so much sloughing off of material that goes flying into the cars and homes. So my question is this one going to have some mitigating circumstances where you eliminate or significantly reduce the sloughing off of the material? Because when cars go by and there's loose stuff, it just flies. The second question is, which surprised me, is that you guys have decided to put a light at the 1150 lot. Has there been a feasibility study actually done? Because if you turn into that lot, there's only about 3 cars that can actually make it into the lot, unless they're going to redo the entire booth and everything. You're not going to get many cars in there. I understand the safety part of it, but I'm just wondering if you've actually done a traffic feasibility study on that.
Yes. Yeah, regarding the sloughing of the slope, the purpose of this project is the overlay, but we do have a concern on that. That is not part of the project, but if that happens, we have our maintenance crews who should do that and will do that and maintain it. If it's in construction and our contractor can fix that or clean it, we're not gonna leave it like that. He'll clean it and we'll add it as part of the scope of work. But first we'll talk to our maintenance, but either our contractor or maintenance, but we'll take care of that. We cannot leave it like that, and it's a safety issue, I understand. Before I forget, on the previous question, it was mentioned if it's gonna be what time. All this work will be done at night. The only work that is gonna be done during the day, most likely, is the curb ramps and the sidewalk. Other than that, the whole pavement, the cold plane, it will be done at night. That way there's no conflict with the reconstruction of the Pacific Palisades and the vicinity, those homes. So it will be night work mostly. And I forgot the last question you had about a sign.
The other question is the 1150 lot turning, a left turn light, is whether or not there's actually been a feasibility study actually done, because again, even if you stop traffic, only 3 cars are going to make it into the lot and make it clear. Otherwise, you're going to have cars backing up, and when it turns green again, you've got cars backed up. So I'm just wondering, has a study actually been done on this? Because in the years past, Caltrans has never wanted the light there to continue to keep more cars flowing on PCH. So this is a major change.
Yeah, as like mentioned before, like there's
What lot is he talking about? I don't know.
the location. If you can repeat the location
Yeah,
exactly.
the 1150 lot, which is the Santa Monica, which is in between, well, which is the 1100 block of PCH in Santa Monica.
It's the three.
Right now, it's a left. There's a left turn in there,
Oh,
but there's
Okay.
barely enough time. So,
Yeah.
so the answer is no. there's
no, we
no-
are. I got a little bit confused, but no, we're doing that. It's part of the project. I described it as on one of the slides that if you're going northbound, we're gonna have a protected left turn.
No,
So
no,
we're
you-
adding.
You'll understand. Has there been a feasibility study actually done on this, or is this, hey, let's just have.
Oh,
left
no,
turn lane?
this, why we're adding a protected left turn is our traffic group or traffic engineers recommended that. And when they recommend something, there is a study.
So
And
is there a study available? Because once again, only 3 cars are gonna make it into that lot.
Got it. No, I think we can provide, as you can see, we can provide you, because that's public information, we can provide you the information, the data, why we're doing it. And you have a good point. We cannot just say, I want to add a left turn there just because. No, we have to have data, and that's a very good question. We'll provide that. Yeah, because that's public information. We'll do that.
Okay,
If
so
you-
it's already been done?
No, we're going to do it as part of this project.
Okay, so until the study is done, it's not going to be,
No, we already made, the study has been done. We already made a decision to add it.
okay, that's what I just asked. So
Oh, okay,
there
okay.
is a study available right now?
Yes, yes.
And it can be, how can it be accessed? Do you have to
I'll talk to
email
my
it?
traffic engineers, since I work in a different department, we will provide that. Because any decision that we make, we have a background data, we have data why we made a decision. We'll provide that.
And if you email that Repave PCH email address, we can follow up with you.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we show on the map where it is? She was asking where it is.
I don't have
Where
one.
is it?
Can we see it on like the
Can we go on
over,
map?
like if we go back to the
I mean, I
overview?
can
I know you don't
assume
have it
that
marked,
it's
but
something-
Yeah, I don't have it marked.
can we like see where it is in?
Parking lot 3.
It's parking lot 3.
Parking lot.
I guess it's too far out for you
Is
to
that
see.
Yeah, well,
California?
approximately, can you show?
Is that like around
Would you know where it is on this map?
Yeah, no, on this one, Osama, do you know where it is, the
Yeah.
parking lot 3?
Well, lot 3N is close by here in the city of Santa Monica, so it's on this, and to actually.
Whereabouts in the city?
Is it
Yeah,
like-
she's asking where.
Like
Okay,
California,
so,
by Montana, is it by
No.
Arizona? Is
No,
it by-
you know where the California
Maybe to show
incline is?
here.
Yeah.
Very close to where the California incline is.
But they said 1100 block. They said 1100 block. To me, that's sort of. Okay, so it's around Wilshire. Okay. All right, okay, Wilshire, thank you.
Okay, it's referred to as lot 3N, in case someone knows what's the parking lots there. It's referred to as lot 3N. And yes, the warranted were done, and it was also. Yeah.
Yeah, basically the request came to us and the warrant has been done on it. And is to provide that left turn, protected left turn into basically the city of Santa Monica parking lot. And as far as the concern about whether 3 cars or 4 cars or little cars, we always can tweak that by the signal timing. So the green we allow for the cars to go in the lot will not going to significantly affect the through traffic on PCH. So.
But the parking lot can't hold.
You got a parking toll booth.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to do.
We understand that. Yes, we understand that. And that was the back and forth between us and the city of Santa Monica on that. Basically, they are saying when they queue, they cause a safety issue with the through traffic. And so we wanted just to see if that is doable with a protected left turn instead of just allowing that to happen as it is right now. But your concerns will be taken. We'll have another look at that.
But you've already made a decision.
For now, it's included in the design project, but as my colleague Refugi said, we are in the project report stage. So once we start design, if there is something that we can see based on the community needs and feedback, we might look into that. But as of now, it's part of the project to include that left turn into the parking lot.
I have
Yes.
3 questions. First, you showed a slide of Temescal Canyon Road on Pacific Coast Highway with only 4 traffic lanes. There are 6 there. So are you eliminating a traffic lane? That's a question.
Okay.
That's
I'll
a
let the
question.
designer.
Yes. The typical section that we created, it was just to show the bike lanes. No, on this project, we're not removing any lanes, existing lanes, or we're not adding any lanes. The number of lanes that we have out there is gonna keep the same. We're just doing a pavement rehab, rehabilitating the pavement, but we're not gonna add lanes, we're not gonna take lanes. Whatever is out there is gonna stay as it is. Since the purpose of this project It's pavement rehabilitation, but we're not gonna change the lanes or add lanes or delete lanes, no. It's just pavement and ADA curb ramps.
We have a
Could you
short
please
ceremony.
address
Yes.
you touched on a new crosswalk on Pacific Coast Highway at Entrada Drive. That's 50 feet away from a tunnel that you're also going to rehabilitate. Has there been a traffic study done on what a crosswalk at that intersection will do to Pacific Coast Highway traffic? I mean, how long will the cycle be for pedestrians to cross 8 lanes of traffic?
Correct.
I'll
No?
check that.
Okay.
How long will that green cycle be?
Okay, so the concern is valid because there's the ADT volume at this location is anywhere between 60,000 car vehicles and 80,000. So we understand that that's a concern, taking some of the green time from the through traffic. But here's the situation. We got 2 tunnels. One is Roosevelt and one is the beach. Both of them are not adequately designed for handicapped people to go through. Now, when we did the road safety audit, we observed folks crossing over the lane, over the barrier around Chautauqua. And since Chautauqua already has its own concerns of it's such a complex intersection, we figured out if we were to provide a safe crosswalk at Entrada, that will take care of that issue. But if, again.
Isn't that going to draw crowds like the Santa Monica Pier entrance? I mean, you're going to divert people from the tunnels because people don't like tunnels, they're scary. So you're going to end up with a huge number of pedestrians crossing there.
Well, we're working on 2 prongs.
What's the traffic study?
Yeah.
What's the traffic study? What will this do to the traffic flow on Pacific Coast Highway?
Okay, we're working on 2 prongs. We're upgrading the tunnels and we're also
I understand that,
providing
we already
this.
covered that.
Yeah.
My question is, where's the traffic study? What is that going to do to Pacific Coast Highway at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon?
We looked at delays numbers and we understand there's gonna be a trade-off as far as the through traffic would have to wait a little bit longer, okay? But right now, we are in a predicament that there is no safe handicap crosswalk. And the stairs, if you've been to Roosevelt Tunnel, they are wooden stairs. They are not easy to navigate. And we've observed, because when we did the safety audit, we waited there at that area and we looked at crossings and some
How
folks
far
would cross.
is Pacific Coast Highway going to back up onto the 10 freeway or into Santa Monica because you're putting a crosswalk in there?
Okay, we sure don't want that to be a long queue. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think that we have kind of answered at least
No,
part
you
of your
haven't.
questions. I do want to make
You
sure
just
there's
said there was a
time.
study. I'd sure like to hear what the study results were.
I know, but I want to thank you again for your feedback.
So you're not going to answer?
We would like to ensure that there is time for other people who have questions
I
as
understand,
well.
but you didn't answer my question. What was the study? And it's a rather important issue. How far is traffic going to back up on a given beach day?
Can I take?
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, if we'll go back, if there is not a study, we will do a study, but we have to, right now it's at the preliminary stage. Why we're adding it? Because we don't want persons to get killed, and we saw persons that are crossing just jaywalk, and safety is first. But that's why we have these meetings. We need your input, we need the city input, and it's work in progress. We're at the prior report, and if we need to do a further study, we'll do it. But that's why we need your feedback. It's all this that we do is.
Feedback is we're not getting an answer, and this is
No.
supposed to be an informative meeting,
Yeah.
and the amount of traffic flow and traffic delay at a brand-new traffic signal, 2 of them,
Yeah.
in Santa Monica, is really, really important.
No, and I guess you can record it. We will provide data of the impact of the delay, and that's normal. What you're requesting is normal, we will provide that. Yes, no, very good question, and that's why we need input from the public, from the cities, from the county. Mhm.
One more thing, I don't think, perhaps one, but not both of those tunnels have wooden steps. At least one of them is concrete.
Oh, okay. We can check, no problem.
I'm
Thank
talking
you.
about the Roosevelt's one, has the wooden step.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
We can
It's a cement one.
Again, if you do have a question, we do ask that you line up at the microphone. Thank you again for waiting so patiently. We would love to hear your question.
Hi, my name is Damien Kevitt. I'm with Streets Are for everyone. I also work with Fix PCH, which is a community group concerned about the safety of PCH. I have multiple questions. I'm going to try to be super fast. I'm not going to challenge you. I'm just curious what the answers are. One, at this stage, is this a feedback seminar? So this is you're getting feedback from the community, or is this a presenting the final plans? That's the first question.
Yeah, it's we're at the prior report, so we haven't prepared plans. The plans will be prepared 6 months from now, 3 months from now. We're going to start preparing plans. This is, we can call it as a feedback. It's an outreach meeting to get input from the public. Yeah, we don't want to surprise public and do a construction and without getting your input. So no, you can provide input, whatever we need to do. You know, it's a project for all of us. Mm-hmm.
Good. And is there a survey for others to provide feedback, or is this just the email address? Can others provide feedback? Is that because obviously these few people in this room are not totally representative of everyone who might be impacted.
Correct. So you can provide feedback using that email, repavpch@dot.ca.gov. You can also attend any of the other meetings, so you can tell your friends to attend the other meetings, the in-person meeting or the virtual meetings. Those should be more accessible to all. I think those are the best ways to give feedback, though I like the survey idea.
Good. Okay, so now my actual questions. Ready? Or suggestions. One is on Entrada. If you're going to do a crosswalk there, you need to have a pedestrian refuge island, because as we well know, pedestrians, especially tourists who don't know this area, are going to start crossing way late, and then they're going to be stuck in the middle, and you need a pedestrian refuge island. So please put that in there for their safety. Next thing is, I don't totally understand why you're putting in a few hundred or a few thousand feet of bike lanes. It's hard for me to understand, because there are sections of PCH where cyclists are actually pushed into a road where drivers are doing 50, 60 miles an hour because there is nothing, and I can't tell if you're filling in gaps so that it's all safe, and the truth is a class 2 bike lane is not necessarily that safe.
Mm-hmm.
Let me stop
Yes.
at that one.
Okay, yes. And this project, the original scope of this project, the original scope, which was the project initiation report, it was signed in 2021. The original scope was just to do an overlay. But lately we added more safety issues like the tunnel, the crosswalks, the sidewalks. We added that. That was not part of the original. And one of the safety items that we added to this project was the 3 segments for bike lanes. And due to funding, due to the funding that California Transportation Commission provided to us, we don't have funds to add more bike lanes. So we only have 3 bike lanes that we are in on this project. If we add more, we have to do feasibility studies and talk to the city and to the businesses and to the homes, because if we add more, we don't have space right now, but if we add more, we have to reduce the median. And when we reduce the median, that you're going northbound or southbound, we have a big median that you make left turns. If we have bike lanes, we're gonna get rid of the median at some locations, and if we get rid of the median, it's gonna affect homeowners who are gonna make a U-turn, or it's gonna affect businesses who are gonna complain. So that's why we need to carefully study if we're gonna add more. We have another project, which is a long-term project, where there is a possibility that we're gonna add more bike lane segments, and this one is only 3, because due to the funding, and we cannot go back to the California Transportation Commission because they gave a certain amount, and we have to deliver by a certain date. So on this project, the original scope was just pavement rehabilitation, but we're adding 3 segments. In the next project in the future, then we will look into that, work with the city, and add more bike lanes.
Okay, I'm just going to point out that if you're adding in a small section of bike lane and then dumping cyclists into the middle of a road where vehicles are going, which is currently the situation in sections of PCH, where you dump cyclists into the middle of a high-speed road, which both frustrates and scares the bejesus out of the cyclists as well as the vehicles, that's not safe. And I don't know, because I'm not sitting there personally picturing every single inch of the road, but I'm highlighting that as a concern. So I'm going to leave it at that there, unless you want to.
I just want to add something. Where the bike lane itself that we're proposing ends, they're gonna continue, but on the shoulder They're not gonna go into the lane itself. They're gonna be on the shoulder. So they'll be using the shoulder the way they are right now.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, I got that.
Janice.
Yeah, so for this project, we're trying to implement as much as we can, if we fit in the project schedule without further delay, these two midterm projects. Just to answer your point, why are we adding just a short salmon here? This is to extend the current bike lane on the south end. So we try to extend as much as we can, and also we find, places that we can implement a longer stretch. That's why we have a longer stretch on the north end.
Understood. Anyways, I voiced my concern. The last thing that I want to bring up is you have a crossing that's being proposed, I believe, at 2356 PCH. Is that just white paint? Is there some way to control that crossing so that pedestrians who cross are not going to be run over by vehicles doing 70 miles an hour? And the last part of that is, do you have numbers of peak number of individuals using the bus? Is there enough space for those pedestrians during peak times, not during the low times or average? So we know during low times or winter, no one's using it, relatively speaking. And do you have bus shelters being planned for that? That was a lot there, but
Yes.
there we go.
Yes, we're adding the crosswalk because of the bus stop. Presently, there is a bus stop, so when they get out, there's no crosswalk. So that's why we're adding the crosswalk. We're adding a piece of sidewalk and crosswalk.
Is it a control?
Oh, and a
crossing?
signal.
Oh, there you go.
Control.
It
It
has
is
a
control.
Oh, it
has
is
a
control.
pedestrian signal? Okay, thank you. That wasn't clear from the presentation. Do you know that 6 feet of sidewalk is going to be enough for peak pedestrian traffic? And are there going to be bus shelters at those locations?
Yeah, bus shelter mostly. Huh?
No?
That's a metro.
No, that's
Metro.
What you're referring to is a metro bus stop, and we are basically going to provide a controlled crosswalk. If you're familiar with the area, that's where the restaurant Moonshed used to be. So that's the main reason, as we're trying to protect pedestrian crossing onto that side. So now, as far as when you say bus shelters, you're talking about something different here. It's not at this location, so this is just the bus stop.
Okay, good. So let me just clarify the questions. I'm sorry, I gave 3 in a row, and then I'm going to shut up and let someone else ask questions. Do you have data on peak pedestrian traffic to those bus shelters? Is 6 feet of sidewalk enough space during peak pedestrian time, or do you not have that data? That was one question. And do you know?
Okay, the Moon Shadows crosswalk was part of a safety study that was done in Malibu, and that's why we're providing it in this project. So it has been already kind of vetted, if we can say, for a safe crossing at that location. Now, as far as the sidewalk is concerned, whether we have enough sidewalk or not, this particular area has a lot of cultural issues in it, and we work with the team, the design team, is just to be able to put it in an area where this project will go forward. Otherwise, based on environmental, cultural area that's been identified there, it was very hard to come up with a location to put that crosswalk safely. So I hope that answers your question.
And I appreciate you putting that safety factor in. I'm going to register a request to know how much that peak pedestrian traffic is, to understand if 6 feet of sidewalk is. If you put 6 feet and there's 20 people there, someone's going to be in the road. And then what's the point during peak pedestrian time? So I'm just noting that as something that you should look at. And then the last part, which obviously you can't answer, is at least provide the ability for Metro, because I know Metro has to go through a long approval process to get a bus shelter on Caltrans right away. So if you could at least provide that ability, I can then go advocate for bus shelters to Metro. So there we go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your questions and feedback.
Hi there, I'm Dustin Shahan. I live a few blocks off of the route here, so I've got, I think, 3 points. One, to echo if there's any way to make sure the new bike lanes actually connect to something, just understand financial constraints, but if anything's possible there. 2, for the section that has the bike lane and parking together, if there's any opportunity to flip those so that the bus parking, that would be, I think, best, going up and down that stretch.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Could you?
Sure. The stretch where there's the parking lane and the bike lane together, if there's any way to put the bike lane on the inside, like protected side of that parking, a lot of times the bike lanes get used as like a stopping point for the cars trying to park, and that just blocks up everything, and there's not actually room for them, so it blocks the actual travel, car travel lane as well. And then the third point, if the pavement's approved, is there anything that's going to like slow the cars back down? Right now, I think there's enough potholes that even the 60 mile an hour is somewhat limited. If it's nice fresh pavement, everybody's going to finally get their green light and then hit 80, which they do anyway. But if you can do anything to keep the traffic actually at the speed limit, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yes, regarding when the project is done, the payment should be fine, because we're doing a overlay, and there are locations where it's localized payment that is not in good condition. We will replace it. So the purpose of this project, when the project is done, the payment should be fine from beginning to end. We're not gonna leave something which is not correct. The payment is gonna be brand new overlay. And yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say, in terms of speed limit, we do rely on our partners in law enforcement to enforce that. Speed limit is not something that Caltrans enforces.
Yeah, regarding the question of flipping the bicycle lanes on the inside and the cars on the outside, we'll talk to our traffic engineers. The pattern for everyone, the typical pattern of a driver is to park on the shoulder and park on the outside, on the outside of the shoulder, not the inside. So we will talk to our traffic engineers if that is possible, if it's doable, if it meets the requirements of NUTCD. And if it does, it's a good proposal. But we will check, because we just want to follow the standards. If it's permissible, and if it's permissible, it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you. And understand the police department has to actually enforce it. You can't design roads to encourage the slower speeds.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kiara Belain. I think I'm basically going to reiterate a couple of the comments you just heard, but while I understand that this is not part of the PCH master plan and that you're just responding to something that just happened, I find it a little disappointing that there's very little focus on really safety and multimodality. It sounds like we're just going to keep things as they are in terms of safety on PCH right now based on what I'm seeing here. Sure, speed enforcement is not your job, but design is in the end what leads to speeding, and if you design a street properly, people will not speed on it. They will not be tempted to speed on it. They will not be able to speed on it. And right now, they can speed as much as they want. It is deadly. And that leads to my next comment, which is also about the bike lane. I agree that, first of all, if you only create a small section of bike lane, it's not actually usable. Having one section of bike lane and then being dumped onto a 60 miles per hour highway does not help you. If you're able to connect it to shoulders and other sections, that's great. But I also want to mention that I'm not seeing any buffer on either side of the bike lane right now. And while I personally usually always support bike lanes, if you're creating a narrow painted bike lane that's along parked cars, you're creating a situation where people are very likely to get doored, and you're creating a false sense of safety. And when you do that next to extremely fast traffic, that can lead to very serious issues like death. So I just want to point out that if the bike lanes are not well connected and they're not actually safe, they're not actually wide enough for people to be able to ride in them without getting doored and thrown under a car, I think there might be better ways to use your money and make PCH actually safer for all kinds of people.
Thank you so much for your feedback. I do want to emphasize that this is just part of the plan to enhance safety on PCH. This isn't the only thing that we're doing. You mentioned the draft PCH, master plan feasibility study, and that is really focused on long-term solutions. These pavement rehabilitation projects are part of our goals to kind of take action now and try to make some progress and some effort towards enhancing safety. But again, this is not a one solved solution. This is going to take time and work and partnership. And so I just want to emphasize this is not the only thing that we are doing along the PCH corridor.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the presentation. Appreciate all the information you can provide during this public meeting. I have a few questions about some things you mentioned that aren't in any of the materials that were in the presentation. As far as the guardrail upgrades you mentioned, are those just upgrades to existing locations of guardrails, or is that the installation of new guardrails across certain segments?
Yes, this will be the replacement. The existing guardrails will be totally removed and we'll put new guardrails at the same location.
Okay.
And if there is a location that doesn't have a guardrail but it warrants it and we need it, we will add one.
Will you be providing information about where the new guardrails will be installed?
Yeah, well, actually, we have a list. We have a list on the PID, the initiation document. It shows a list, a breakdown list of all the locations where we're doing that. We can provide that.
Is that document on your project website currently?
If we can add it, yeah, we can share that. Or on the email, if you ask a question, we can provide a list of all those locations.
Okay,
we have
thank
it.
you.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Then another question about, you mentioned that you'd be replacing signage across the full extent, pretty much from the LeClaire Tunnel to the Ventura County line. And I'm wondering if that just includes road safety signage, is it speed limits, is it also all the no parking signage, is it coastal access signage, which signage is included in that?
Yeah, it includes all, those are, good news includes everything. All the signs will be new.
Okay, and I have a follow-up question of that. If you are going to be replacing existing signage, do you have an inventory of all that signage and where they're currently located legitimately versus, as you probably know, there's fake no parking signs across that full extent of Pacific Coast Highway. And if you don't have an inventory, you might be replacing fake no parking signs with legitimate no parking signs where it may not be intended.
Yes, there is a parking study that we refer to, and we have basically where the red curbs are. So your concern is well taken. And we're talking now about mostly signs, guide signs, speed signs, safety signs. So, but I know parking is a sticky issue on PCH, and we have a good idea where the parking is prohibited with red curbs. So we're not making
exact, or is that estimated?
We would like to say exact, but obviously every time you have a new project where you're gonna make some modifications, we have to look at that from an engineering standpoint. Does it still make sense or not? So these will be vetted in the design stage to make sure that what we are putting out there is in line with what's the parking is out there in terms of no parking zones.
Okay, excellent. So it sounds like you'll have a new baseline based on this improvement project. Will you be creating a document that could be available to the public about where those no parking signs are legitimate? So in the future, when the other fake no parking signs do spring up, we can address those, account for them.
We sure have that intent, but so the question is very well taken as far as the concern, and it is something that we deal with all through PCH, not just for this project.
Okay, and then as far as the coastal access signage, there's certain signage that's along the Pacific Coast Highway where it was absent, it's been installed. There's some signage that's in the Caltrans right-of-way. There's signage that's never been installed in the Caltrans right-of-way, and so where there is access, and I'm wondering if that would include new signage where it should have been, not just a replacement of the existing signage that's already there.
Yeah, we have basically some baseline of what those coastal access signs are. We understand the land use issues. We understand that there are some, might be some changes as far as, let's say, for example, if we're doing a crosswalk close to a coastal access, we understand that has to be there. So we want to always make sure that when we put something out there, it will lead people safely to the other side, whether they are crossing for beaches, access, or to get through the coastal access point.
Can I ask who Caltrans is coordinating with to ensure that those access signs are being...
We are coordinating with all the local agencies along. So we started by City of Santa Monica, then you have the City of LA, County of LA, Beaches and Parks, all the way until you get to the Coastal Commission and Malibu.
Okay, understood. And then I had one more question. Since this is a rehabilitation project, I'm wondering if what you're rehabbing as far as pavement, is that going from edge of pavement to edge of pavement as far as what's existing currently, or are you improving edge of pavement?
No, that's a good question. No, we're going from edge of pavement to edge of pavement. So the whole pavement will have new pavement. So we're not doing little pieces. It's the whole length, the whole width.
Got it.
Including the
That's
shoulders.
Existing pavement. But what about the full extent of the right-of-way across both of these sections?
Yeah, the purpose of this project is just to overlay the existing pavement. We cannot widen or add more lanes or add a little piece more, because that means Coastal Commission. We need to prepare a big document and prove to them that this is needed. The purpose of this project is just an overlay from existing to existing. We cannot add more. There's many locations within the limits that are they have cultural concerns, buried objects, or et cetera, from the past. We cannot excavate. So we're only paving, removing the asphalt and paving, but no excavation. We cannot excavate something deep due to cultural and environmental concerns. Plus, the purpose of the project was just to do an overlay. In the future projects, the master plan, then that's a different story, because on that one they have a different environmental document and another feasibility study. Those we can probably excavate more or widen, but this one is just within the footprint of PCH.
How are you going to confirm that you are paving, at least in that feasibility, the
Yes.
long-term study, how are you confirming that you're paving or adding improvements where your right-of-way exists? Do you have surveys for that?
No. On our plans, right now we're on the prior report phase, but also on our plans, on our engineering plans, we show the right-of-way line from here to here. And before we go to construction, we confirm, and we also have surveys. We don't want to go outside the right-of-way. We have to stick within our right-of-way, and if we, as part of the project, we are outside the right-of-way, we need permission from respective owners, the city, the county, whoever's on that, and we have to explain why we need to go outside the right-of-way. But those are specific locations. If we have to do to a curb ramp, let's say, a curb ramp that we have to go into private property. Other than that, the purpose of the project is within our right-of-way.
So, understood. So, as part of these two phased rehabilitation projects, you have current right-of-way surveys?
Yes, yeah, we have surveys and we have layout plans that show the right-of-way line, because we want to ensure that we don't go into private property without letting them know. No surprises. We, as part of our job, we do a survey and we confirm that all the work is inside state right-of-way. And if not, we have to get permission. But that is a document that it's a right-of-way certification. We always do that on all the projects. And where is the existing payment? The plans will show from existing payment to existing payment, so the contractor can see it. He cannot go beyond.
Okay. How are you addressing issues where there's encroachments within your right-of-way?
Encroachments into a right-of-way from someone else?
Yeah, other property owners.
Well, in that case, if they are, we talk to our maintenance, we notify them, hey, you have something within our right-of-way without permission, and then we talk to the owners. Hopefully we don't have those locations, but if we find out, we have to notify them that they cannot be inside our right-of-way. Same thing as us, we cannot go into private property. We have to get rights.
Okay, so the current surveys you have, they're not just boundary surveys, they also plot the
No, we do surveys, and we have that, and it's available for the public. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I do want to make sure we have time for other people. Thank you for your questions and feedback.
Good evening. Thank you. I'll try not to be too loud. But yeah, thank you for putting on this meeting for the public. Kind of cool to be able to be here and see what's being planned. I don't necessarily have questions, more just maybe food for thought. Some of this might be a little bit outside the scope of the project, but just for some things moving forward. As a cyclist, I would say that the proposed Class 2 bike lanes in here are perhaps the lowest hanging fruit that you could have picked on this stretch of the road. Usually, once you get north of Bay Cliff Drive, that's when it starts to get a little hairy. And then also that section just technically west, but north of Carbon Canyon Road on the northbound side of PCH, also a lot of room existing already. Bike lane wouldn't really change that, you're just drawing a line of paint on the ground. So yeah, so that said, this may be a little bit outside the scope of the project, but there are many residents in LA County that do not have cars, and PCH is the only connection on the coast. So therefore, I argue that people without a car should be able to access communities and the ocean as well, and be able to freely move between communities and other places along that corridor. So I would propose that maybe not within this project, but the resurfacing, the repaving of the road is going to, I'm assuming, kind of set the stage and set the precedent for kind of the rest of the master plan, because why would you repave parts of the road if you're just going to change it later? I don't know how feasible that is. So I propose that Class 2 bike lanes should be added from Temescal Canyon Road, I believe it is, Boulevard, through basically the project area into Cross Creek Road in the city of Malibu. And then places where the shoulder is perhaps not wide enough to put in a Class 2 bike lane, I think the minimum requirement is like 6 feet. I think, I'm not sure about the feasibility, but you might be able to remove the turning median in select places, because there's the big hills that come down and kind of squeeze it. I know landslides are probably a big concern in that area. Or removing some of the side parking, especially on the northbound side. That should be easy to do since there are no homes on that side of the highway. And then this is, maybe master plan speaking or maybe just hopeful, but I feel like the best solution would almost be to separate the traffic and non-motorized users completely, and have along the southbound side of PCH have a separate two-way kind of bike path / kind of pedestrian walkway, so that users are completely separated from the coast or from the cars on the highway, and they are you're not having to hit people in the road as much. So yeah, I guess not really a question, more just some food for thought. Yes, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate it.
And those may come up during the plan that we do, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just mention that.
Evening. Thank you for putting on this meeting. I have a few comments then I'll end with a question. But I also just want to reiterate that none of this is directed towards any of you individually. But Caltrans and Caltrans District 7 have repeatedly failed to prioritize safety over other factors when redesigning roads. And to me, this is another situation where I'm seeing that again. So, this is why Senate Bill 960 was needed last year. We're not seeing enough improvement here. And, planners will plan things that are much better than this, and engineers will water it down. I just want to remind everyone here that traffic engineers are, as someone who's in medical training, I take codes of ethics very seriously. And traffic engineers are also bound by the American Society for Civil Engineers Code of Ethics that say, and I quote this from the first line, "First and foremost, protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public." This design fails to do that. So, for example, NACDO guidelines for Class 2 bike lanes require a design speed of less than 25 miles an hour on that roadway, a single lane in each direction, and less than 3,000 vehicles per day. PCH, there's no way it meets a single one of those criteria. So I heard you say, we need to see if it fits MUTCD standards. That's an outdated and frankly unsafe set of guidelines. So I guess my question here is, why are you not following global best practices and guidelines like NACDO bikeway design guidelines that prioritize safety? And why does it seem like, we're not getting what the voters mandated last year and what the state legislature mandated last year with Senate Bill 960?
Okay, I'll take that. So what he's referring to is the NACDO, is the National City Transportation Officials basically committee, and the standards they use is promoting all modes of traffic, bikes, pedestrians, and cars. So we're taking that into consideration. As far as the whole idea about safety, safety for us is paramount and is number one. It's actually the first priority for the department. I understand you're talking about Bill 960 and having to look into the complete streets. That's what we're doing here. We're doing improvements for bike lane, room permitting, right-of-way permitting, roadway conditions permitting, and we're also improving safety for pedestrians. So it's not like we're not doing any safety upgrades in this project. If we weren't doing any safety upgrades, we'd have just repaved the pavement, and that's about it, but that's not what we're doing here. So we're looking at all that. As far as the bike lane, whether it's buffered or not buffered, we know we're dealing with a cross-section that would allow us at some locations to have a buffered bike lane, but in others we don't. Right now, there is an existing bike path by the beach side. It ends at Temescal, so the bikes are basically safe to ride on the beach side. We looked into that, and we tried to extend that or to have some kind of continuity to this bike lane, but we also are dealing with right-of-way issues, we're dealing with access issues, and a lot of other stuff. So what we're saying here is this project will take care of some quick fixes, but if we were have to do more as far as bike lanes, we will look at that more into the feasibility study that we would be working on as far as long term. So I hope that addresses the safety features that basically you brought up.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. My final comment will just be to do more. I appreciate everyone's work and time doing this, but I just want to keep pushing you to continue to make these upgrades and, of course, expedite the master plan feasibility study all the way down to San Juan.
Understood, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I say something?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good. You're good.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Carr. I'm a Firestorm volunteer. I'm very passionate about lessons from those who lost their homes, so you can protect yours. And if you find yourself in this unfortunate situation like I did, of losing everything, that you can leverage every possible resource, and I have some ideas based on 10 years of Firestorm experience to save individuals and communities millions of dollars on their journey home again. I did not plan on volunteering in this fire. However, I was asked if I would look into why Metro LA had not restarted, and if we could get a charter bus into Malibu. Businesses are dying all over that PCH. And so I couldn't turn my back on this. I've seen multi-agency problems before with animals. 8 counties, 3,600 animals. No way the county could deal with it. Stepped in with my neighbors. We did make a difference. The last thing you want to lose after your home is your pets. So I see the position that you were all in. It is certainly a very difficult one. There are a lot of moving pieces to this. I have chosen to take on the role of communication around mobility. There are some efforts that are going on behind the platform right now, the Journey Home Again, to help the businesses and bringing the tourists back, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about the conditions of the water, the road, etc. So what I'd like to ask with regards to communication is 2 things. One is I'm trying my best to catch up on all of this, and pretty much from the Palisades to Santa Monica, I'm in the dark about what you're up to because this study is separate, and the communication seems to be somewhat disparate as well. So unfortunately, I was stuck in traffic getting here because the PCH was closed. So I would like to know where I can get your slides to catch up. And what I think would be really helpful for the public, and I hope for you too, I've looked at the Michelin study, and I know that it is segmented. There's like about 8 or 9 segments for Malibu alone. And to delineate where those boundaries are and to use that for common communications so that the residents in each of these areas can give you very specific feedback in those areas. And that may be very helpful for you as much as it is for them. Also, when you're publishing, when you're going out to do these studies, get the businesses and residents like a 6-month timeline of what you're planning to do where and how that's going, and maybe update it twice a month. A specific landing page, not a press release fireworks somebody's got to go Google search for, but a stable landing page that people can go to And then the other piece that I'm hoping for with communications is a push notification. Every time you anticipate or are aware of a potential road closure, whether or not it's coming from DPW or LAPD or from you. There are 3 different agencies, different reasons why that happens. But people are getting stranded out there. And then there's people that don't want to come at all. So having better notifications from your office, a push notification would help a lot, please. With that being said, let me review.
While you're reviewing, I just want to thank you for your feedback so far, and just say you can reach out to this email. We'll be happy to send you the presentation. You can also share your contact information with us after the meeting, and we can make sure you get access to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We can talk about we have the future meeting.
Oh yeah, and we do have upcoming meetings. April 9th, which will be in person in Malibu, as well as 2 virtual options. So the presentations and also feedback gathering is not done for this project.
Oh, good, yeah, because that was my next one. There's going to be so much people wanting to give feedback now that all of this has happened. That this is a really juicy time to hear from them. And I was concerned that you might just say, oh, no, we've done our X number of workshops and we're at our final stages. So that really warms my heart to know that you are definitely planning on bringing in more feedback. Because people are really traumatized and very, what's the word I'm looking for, just very reactive and sometimes having a negative focus just because of the exhaustion. And so it would be comforting if you would just let them know that yes, you do want more feedback and that in light of what happened, you really welcome that, and that will make them very happy.
Thank you, and again, bless your heart. This is just the first of a series of meetings, and we understand what the community is going through right now. But we were faced with, do we do it now, or do we wait until all the recovery efforts are done? And we thought with the timeline of the improvement and the safety enhancement we want to put out there, it's better to do it sooner than later. But we appreciate you taking the time and coming here. And we will have more communication. That's just the start of it.
Good. And I don't live in the area, but it looks like I'll be back here April 9th. I've been spending a lot of time here.
Yeah, go to Malibu City Hall on April 9th. Don't come back to Santa Monica. We'll be at Malibu City Hall.
I'll be there. So, okay. So this also relates to parking and speeding. What if, and I don't know the feasibility, of just having nearly all of that stretch 35 miles an hour, because if you do that, a couple things can happen. One is if you put in speed bumps, you don't need cameras and you don't necessarily need police officers. I've talked to police officers and they said, at that speed, you know, it's fine. You're not going to have cars losing control at that speed. The reason why I mentioned 35 is not only is it safer, but now you can have golf carts on the road, and those take up a lot less parking spaces. And they're starting to become popular. So why not create a beach community that is truly a main street instead of a highway?
Yeah, we'd like to see more golf course actually. If there's more golf course, a lot of the speeding issues that we have will go away. But realistically, we have the tough task of balancing the act between moving lines of cars and also ensuring that they go in safely. So that balance is something that we always deal with. So as I mentioned earlier, ADTs are high, obviously in some of these locations in this project, but as you go out north of Malibu, the ADTs are less, and the volumes are less, traffic volumes are less. So we are looking at all these road dieting measures and to do some speed reduction, because we understand that speed reduction saves lives. So we're aware of that. But when you have a route that you have that many cars, use it every day to the point that right now, because we just have one lane open, we're getting all kinds of emails and mails, and
Oh, I'm
it's
sure
taking
that
me
you are.
2 hours to get to where I'm going because you're
Right.
just close to Panga Canyon. So that's something that we always have to balance.
Right, I understand the throughput issue, and to that point, I'd like to talk about the checkpoints for just a moment, please.
Okay.
Because I've talked to the sheriff and I really haven't gotten
I do just
anywhere
want to
with that.
say, we do want to, I would love to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah.
But we do want to focus on this pavement rehabilitation project.
Okay.
And so if there are other people with questions, we would prefer to hear those questions first, just so we
Okay.
can make sure to get them answered.
Sure, I absolutely respect that. I'd like to
Thank you.
highlight, we have about 64 days to Memorial Day weekend at this point. Can you at least look into getting automatic pass for any vehicle with 4 or more passengers, no stopping, no pass required? Because I'm advocating for van pools, trying to get more people into shared transportation to take the load off the PCH. And so if you can endorse behavior that does that, that would help a lot.
Thank you for your feedback.
Hello and thank you. I'm also a resident of Malibu and I'm representing my community, La Costa. I've been to all the feasibility meetings and I'd like to know in this reiteration of everything that you're doing, will you be keeping the median from, let's say, Dukes to Carbon?
Is that a
Turning
project?
lane. The emergency turning lane.
Oh.
Are you keeping that there?
Yeah.
Keeping everything status quo until the feasibility?
Correct. Can you explain? Can you mention the limits from Carbon Canyon to?
It's from Las Flores to Carbon.
Yeah.
That area is considered to be law
Yeah, as part of this project, we're not changing that. We're
So
leaving the
everything will
median
be
as
the
it is.
same right now.
Yes.
It's a quick question, but my community is concerned.
Yes. No, we're keeping it. We're not changing that.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you so much. My first question is, I'm wondering if there's anywhere on PCH we can all meet to get a drink after this and relax. Oh my goodness. Couple questions. Have there been any considerations for additional landscape medians, maybe going up into Malibu, or options in Santa Monica, similar to we have in West Malibu?
No.
No, based on the scope of this project was just to do the overlay, the pavement rehabilitation. We cannot add or change lanes or change the median, with the exception of the 3 bike segments that we're adding. Maybe in the master plan, which we're doing a feasibility study, the master plan, which will be for the whole PCH. Then on that one, it could be a possibility. We have to talk to the city and the county and get feedback from the public. Yeah, but right now, as part of this project, no, we're not.
Thank you. Additionally, I understand this probably relates to local law enforcement, but I have personally found that the speed readers that display speed to people traveling on roads is especially effective when they have the red and blue flashing lights that activate when you go over that. I personally don't recall seeing that ever on PCH, so I would love to communicate to law enforcement agencies that you're in touch with. There are clearly several areas, of course, the Big Rock Turn and several other areas where even myself, someone who has seen those in my neighborhood, I still react after seeing those for years. If I'm over the speed limit, it's not just showing me that I'm speeding, but the red and blue flashing lights, especially when we have so many people who travel PCH who are not familiar with that road, it would be effective for a large number of travelers. I understand that would be most effective at night because we have so many people traveling during the day, but night is when it could be especially unsafe, and I see people going 100 miles an hour, often at 10, 11, midnight or later, and those would give people the impression there's law enforcement on them at that time. So I would love to see those on PCH going forward. I also have noticed in terms of signage, perhaps I'm mistaken, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I have never seen a something like a slower traffic, keep right kind of sign anywhere on PCH. And my personal experience, perhaps there's a reason why we can't do that, is so many people are on the road. They're so distracted from the world-class views. They're not familiar with the roads. It's a 2-lane highway. And then you have people who are familiar who get so frustrated with the people who are going very slow. It creates agitation. Then you have situations where people are starting to drive recklessly because they're so frustrated with the person who's driving slow in what would be considered the fast lane. And when you only have 2 options, I have just seen it a million times where people just get so frustrated that then they start to cause unsafe situations trying to get around. And I would love to see some type of encouragement for slower traffic to keep right. Thank you. I've also noticed personally that some of the lights on PCH are so long that they then just cause people to get distracted, start looking on their phones, and the pace of traffic, then you get people honking, and once again it's a similar situation where the timing of the lights just seems like people are stopping for too long. It seems that if we could speed up the light cycles, people don't have enough time to get distracted, they stay engaged in their driving, and we will have a smoother traffic flow as a result. But I personally see so often when the light goes longer and longer and longer, there's nobody coming through in the opposite direction, we start to see backup because nobody's paying attention now. It's just a fact in our reality, I get that now, but quicker light cycles, I would love to see at certain intersections. I also, again, in competition with the world-class views and the homes and everything else that people are competing, against the traffic signs with, perhaps larger certain signs of speed limit and warnings would be appropriate in certain areas. It's very easy to not even see a speed limit sign when you have an amazing sunset going on or a beautiful house that you're passing by that you've never seen for the first time. A lot of the signage that I see is quite honestly ridiculous. It just doesn't compete with the surrounding views. And I think some areas where there are especially difficult areas to navigate, larger signs promoting either warnings or speed limits, etc. Perhaps illuminated as well. I don't think we have one illuminated speed limit sign on PCH. Something to that effect would be very effective, please. I also wanted to address, finally, and thank you for your time, the northbound Chautauqua Entrada area right turn lane in front of that Chevron gas station there. It splits and confuses everyone. A lot of people don't understand if they get in that lane to turn on Entrada or Chautauqua, and it becomes kind of a 2-lane, not really kind of situation, and I see it all the time. People aren't sure what lane to get in to turn up Chautauqua. They're beginning at Entrada, they're blocking traffic, they're causing people to get confused in that area, and I would love to see that area addressed with some better signage of how to proceed smoothly through those intersections. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for presenting it. Democracy isn't easy, and I understand this is really a repavement project that you guys are trying to, within its parameters, add these other elements. And I think some of the disappointment is I think it's the other elements that people are particularly excited by, and the concept of improving safety, improving bike lanes. But within that understanding, I just want to have a couple questions. So my understanding is the bike lane we're adding at Temescal is picking up where the current bike lane currently ends, and you would basically just cross what's currently a 2-way bike lane. We would cross the street, and bicyclists would go north along the north side of along the east side of the street. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. It's an extension, correct.
Okay. And is there going to be then a crosswalk at the end of that? It's at Bay, where we're going to Bay Club. Is there already currently, or will there be then another crosswalk at Bay Club to come back around to the south?
Yeah, I don't recall if there's one, but if there is a need, I'll talk to our traffic group, and if there is a need and if it's warranted.
Because it would seem like if we're adding the half mile, it sounds like we're just adding a half mile to what we have, that we would then need to turn around and come south.
Yeah, the plan is to add some guide signs to bikes to know where to catch the bike lane right at that area, so it will direct them there.
And we'll be able to come back, people will be able to come back around south. People have already brought up the idea of being dumped into traffic going, I should stop saying south, going west. So to come back east or south, is there a way to connect that? It was not.
That's the issue here, is the real estate, the right of way we have. We have to work with it, so there is.
I guess there's going to be a cross.
There is always a cross to the other side, you know. But if you're concerned about bikes going back to where the bike lane, yes, we will provide some signs and we will provide a way for them to cross back.
Okay, and one last question, which is the farther east part in Malibu, the 2.5 miles going east, going north. I understand why you could only able to get the one lane in there, not the two. But in your planning, where are you anticipating the bikes on that path coming to the end of it? Where do they go?
Yes, the bike lane and this one, that's where it goes. That's the other segment of the project. And the other segment, if we can have a continuous bike lane and extend it. So, but on the other one, we have to look at what are the what's out there, and if we have the enough space, yeah, it will be nice to have continuous. The longer the bike lane, the better. But that one, we have to look and see if we can connect it.
I'm following that part, but if they go east, north, they have to come back. From Caltrans' perspective, these bicyclists, where is your plan for them to get back, knowing that you can't currently get a bicycle lane there? What is the current plan that Caltrans has? Where are those bikes going to go?
Well, if they want to come back, we have the crosswalks at so many intersections. They can use the crosswalk. But before I continue, I just want to mention that the other project, which is from Sierra Road all the way to the county line, that one, as of now, is not going to have 3 bike segments. That one will have a lot of bike segments. But that's part of another project. But that one is not, it's going to be a lot of bike segments. But I guess that's a different project.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give a heads up, we've got about 5 minutes left here, so if you can, if you haven't had the chance to ask a question and you want to, and you can do it in a minute, we would appreciate it.
I can use 5 minutes, no problem. I'm Jim Harris. I'm with Gladstones, which is at that little corner at Sunset and PCH. I do see in the plans there's a lot of new signage to be inducted. There's public beach access, parking, directional, stuff like that. I imagine that to be on our side, or that side. Is that something Caltrans funds? Y'all take care of all of that new signage? Because the Coastal Commission is pretty particular about signage that we have to put up on the property, so I was just curious about if anybody knows about that.
So, are you referring to the sign structure out there right now?
Yeah, the sign structure that's intended to be put at that intersection.
Yes. Yes, we would like to replace it, that sign structure. We understand the area where you are is one of the toughest traffic areas. Obviously, there are on Sunsets, there is multiple left turns, and there is a huge volume. So that's something that we're looking at. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Just wanted it on record.
You're very welcome.
I'll try to keep it short. My perspective is coming from somebody who used to be an avid cyclist, which over 11,000 miles a year, but I got hit by cars on PCH in 2020 and 2021, so I'm not riding these days because at this point I'm a little bit concerned about my safety on riding on PCH. I had over 100,000 miles of my riding probably on PCH. My questions are, there are really 3 things I want to raise. 2 I think are easy. 1 may be very difficult, but I at least want to raise it. 1 is you have to eliminate a lot of the parking on PCH where riders have to ride out in the roadway or going to be doored. There's some really easy fixes. One area is just south of the Getty where you actually have people parking illegally there all the time. It's never enforced. Riders are forced out to the traffic there. There's multiple areas. That's one of them, but there's many of them. And at this point, it's inexcusable if you're going to do this, and I appreciate your intent to try to make it safer for everybody. You've got to eliminate it. You've got to deal with the riders' door zone issues, and frankly, it's a win-win issue for motorists and cyclists. You get us off the roadway, you make it safer for us, then the motorists get less pissed off at the cyclists blocking them, which they don't like. You know, obviously some of them don't even want us on the road, but that's another story. The second easy fix is there are sections of PCH that have shitty roadway. There's one section where I start out my rides where I come off of Channel. There was that section of PCH. It was bad road for like a couple years. And this was, I rode for 7 months after I got hit the second time. It took a 5-month recovery. But after I took some time off at this point, I've just decided it's not worth my life at this point. But every ride, I start out on that shitty section of road, and I have to go out into traffic to get around the bad road. And I understand you can't fix stuff immediately, but literally it's been years. And so that has to change. You have to fix the bad road. My third
Thank
area,
you for your feedback. If you could get to your question so we can move on.
but these are comments. I don't have a question. I'm giving you feedback comments, no questions. I'm just giving you my feedback from my perspective and my comments.
All right, we'll give you
for
30
my
more
sake.
seconds.
My third area, that's something I think you need to consider, is sections, in addition to the easy fixes of the roadway and the shoulder, is dealing with possibly, you have issues with whether it's going to be safe to rebuild in certain areas for businesses and perhaps even homes, but probably more businesses. I think somebody at least needs to reconsider if it's not safe to rebuild in certain areas, whether you can use this, whether you could widen the roadway in certain areas. You may have to like exercise eminent domain and pay people for their property, but I think it's something that should be at least looked at. If you can't make it safe with the existing widths, somebody at least has to look at expanding in certain areas to make it so you have safe riding in both directions and trying to get bikes off of the roadway.
Thank you so much. If you have more feedback, please email us and we will take note of all the feedback tonight. I think even are the last person standing there who hasn't asked a question. If you can ask it quickly, we've got to wrap it up here.
Thanks for hanging on so long. I think this is a great patch job. I also have more than 100,000 miles riding around. I just want to remind you that there's a lot of people biking up and down this section of the road. Not all of them are here. There's people ride from Oregon to Mexico down this road. And there's one spot I'd like you to try to look at where the bridge goes over the road, because that's where it's too narrow to get 4 cars and a bicycle through there. You can put up some kind of sign or a blinky flashy light that says cyclist in the way. That would be great. There's lots of things where they do that. The Sepulveda Pass has a thing like that where you push the button and it flashes lights, but something to stop that. And I think you're woefully underfunded. This project's way too small. What can we do for you that gets you more funding so this becomes a much bigger road? Thanks.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that in the PCH master plan, which is a longer term plan, we have planned bike lanes the entire length of Malibu, 21 miles. And late spring, early summer-ish, we're going to start planning the remainder of PCH from the McClure Tunnel to Malibu and then up towards Oxnard. And during that process, we'll be able to consider bigger changes, longer-term changes, that could possibly, we're going to try to get bike lanes as the best bikeways we can, as much as we can. And to be plugged into that process, I think Jason keeps a list of contact people, and we have our list here. Okay, so we'll make sure that you get contacted for that.
Thank you so much again for everybody who has attended this presentation and engaged with us. We want to remind you again, this is not the only presentation while you hear about this project. We have a lot of upcoming meetings. If I skip to the slide, there we go. Oops, one more. We do have additional upcoming meetings to continue talking about this project, another pavement rehabilitation project, and also the master plan.
Awesome. So apologies if you didn't get to ask all of your questions tonight, but we do have that email. We would encourage you to reach out to us or attend one of the virtual meetings on April 16th or May 12th, or the in-person meeting on April 9th. Just be mindful with the April 9th meeting that PCH is still only accessible to residents in the Burn area who have passes. So if that makes traveling there difficult for you, maybe the virtual option is a better one for you. That's all we have for tonight, but we really appreciate all your feedback. We will make note of all of it. I know you didn't see us taking notes, but I'm going to go back and rewatch all of this. So we will take care of all your notes, and we appreciate if you could keep that feedback coming. So.